What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight. I'm your host, owner, and founder of Vicktory Life, Dwight Vick, and today I'm joined by a favorite of mine, someone I have a lot of respect for, Coach Katie Moore, the head volleyball coach at Patriot High School. Good morning as we record this, Coach Katie. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. I had the distinct privilege of interviewing you and about 3 or 4 of your players at the Prince William County Media Day. Early fall, I guess it was late August, right before the season really got going. And I was very impressed with your team. And then I've seen you play a few times. I keep track of the Instagram account. I've seen you, your ladies are off to a great season. Saw you most recently because my youngest daughter goes to Gainesville, and I saw that great matchup. That was a great matchup between you and Coach Heike, who's also been on this show, and she spoke very glowingly of you and had respect for you. So you come highly regarded.
Thank you.
So let's dive into it. Before we talk about the coaching and your playing career, let's go back to the foundation. Who is Coach Katie? Where you from, man? I mean, what got you into sports? Tell us a little about, like, where did you grow up? Are you from Northern Virginia? Let's talk about who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am from Northern Virginia. I grew up on Lightner Road, right beside Battlefield High School, actually.
Wow.
And I went to Fauquier High School. I'm a Fauquier County kind of kid. So I grew up in Fauquier County because my mom was an elementary school teacher. And so she would just bring me to school every day. But I grew up right beside Battlefield when it was nothing, when Haymarket was nothing, when Gainesville was nothing. And so I've just seen that kind of develop over the years. But 4 years over at Fauquier High School, 3-sport athlete, softball, volleyball, basketball. And so that's, I'm a lover of all sports from a very young age. I always wanted to be outside. Let me go outside, let me play, let me see what type of ball I can play with. And I just kind of went from there. But my dad was really big into sports too. He was also a basketball guy. And so he ended up being my basketball coach for years when I was playing travel basketball. It was pretty cool.
I'm so glad you said that about nothing, because I moved to Northern Virginia 25 years ago when I was done playing pro ball. And I'm originally from the Tidewater, Virginia Beach, Hampton, Newport News. And my wife was a track standout at Stonewall, now Unity Reed High School.
Yeah.
And we met at Virginia Tech. And when we started dating, I would come home and she would try to just tell me. And even back then, Manassas didn't have much. I mean, that probably was the most built up part of the west end of the county. And then I moved up here and we got married and I blinked and Haymarket in Gainesville started just booming. And it's just weird because I tell my kids, I said, this area did not always look like this.
Right.
And I used to see old pictures in Gainesville and Haymarket. I mean, it looked like farmland. It was,
it was farmland.
It's just weird because no tree is safe now. I mean, Bristol, Vint Hill, that goes into Bristol and the Patriot District, or Nokesville is building up. I mean, Fauquier County is still kind of kept its ruralness, I guess that's the word. But the rest of the Prince William west side of the county is just developing. You talked about playing for your dad. How was that? Because I coached my son Isaiah, who you're very familiar with, who went to Patriot. And I really loved it, but I remember as he got older and he was approaching high school, we both agreed, look, hey, you got to go play for someone else just to get that experience. And because I coached him in football and basketball, and we had a great relationship. But then as he got older, it kind of just leaked into our house, and we kind of bumped heads a little bit because I was always on him, and I had to balance being a father and also his coach. We both loved it, but at times it was strenuous. How was your relationship with your dad as your coach, and how was that?
I mean, it honestly was pretty great. I mean, my dad is really knowledgeable in the sport of basketball, and so it's hard for me to walk into a gym and wanting to get better and looking at my dad and butting heads because he just knew so much and he could teach us, and my team loved him, and so my team loved him so much, and I was like, all right, Dad, I'm on board. But pretty much everything that he would teach us, would make us better. And everything that they ever taught me would make me better. And, it's always hard when your parent coaches you because, you want to make them proud. And, when you mess up or something, you don't want them to be disappointed. But, he's the type of guy where it's like, I had when I was a junior in high school, I had my best basketball game. We were over at Culpeper. I scored 29 points. I think I had like 9 rebounds. I had like 5 assists. Like best game I ever had. I was junior in high school. And right when we got in the car, he looked at me and he goes, "Could have had 36 if you couldn't make all your free throws." And I was like, "Dad!" But listen, I get it because when you look at all of the really great athletes, like you yourself, great athlete, your wife. Then you look at Isaiah and your daughters, and your youngest daughter. She's a really good athlete too. And so it was really exciting to see her on the JV team, and she's got a lot of talent and a lot of skill as well. And so you start to see this pattern between parents and adults and them teaching their children what they know. And then you start to see their children really, elevate in their sport. But I don't know if you know this, but my daughter is actually the setter on our team at Patriot. And so I have coached her since she was 11 on every single team that she's ever been on. And this upcoming season, she just got accepted a spot at 540 Volleyball Club out in Fredericksburg.
Nice.
And so, Keith Mesa is the head coach to that team. He's the head coach of Colgan. And so this will be the first time that she's going to have somebody else to hear from other than me. So it's all intertwined in there, and it's a really cool experience getting to coach your child, especially if they're on board with like your vision and what you're trying to tell them.
Well, shout out to your dad, because this is why I wanted when I started having kids, everyone thought I wanted to have a son first. I wanted a daughter first because of what you just described. You took it as like, "Oh, Dad," where, my son, the ego, the alpha males bumping heads. My daughters will receive feedback real well. So shout out to your dad for, some sarcasm and also some coaching mixed in. It's good. It's a blessing to have that. Coach Katie, you mentioned, playing 3 sports. Obviously today that is not the norm. Like you might see a young man, a young lady play a couple of sports. But, the further you go back in time, the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, that was the norm. I played football and basketball. I had teammates that did baseball, basketball, and football, track and football. It's rare you see that now. How did you balance it? I know it was a different time, but at the same time, that's pretty demanding because softball is no joke.
Right.
Basketball is, I feel like, the longest season. It's just long. It starts in late fall, goes into the spring. How did you balance that? I know you enjoyed it because you're competitive,
Right.
But how did you balance it?
Yeah, honestly, for me, if I wasn't playing a sport, I didn't know what to do with my time. And so it was more like it back, when I was in high school 20 years ago, everybody was playing sports in high school. Everybody was trying to play a sport in every season, or at least I thought so. A bunch of my friends were. And I was a 3-sport high school athlete, and I was playing AAU basketball. But it was one of those things where I didn't know, like, there was nothing else that I wanted to do other than to be in the gym and to be competing and to be with that group of people. And I balanced it a lot. My mom was an elementary school teacher, so she helped me a lot with my schoolwork to be able to keep on track. It wasn't too demanding, back then with your schoolwork. It was normal, I think. So I was a good student, an AB student. But it was funny because my friends in high school would talk about, when the season would end and trials hadn't started yet, and we'd have about 4 days. We were like, what are we going to do? Go home after school? Like, that's weird. Like, there was nothing else that we wanted to do other than stay after school, go to practice, get home at 7, eat dinner, go to bed, wake up and do it again. And also, we were there before phones. And so you didn't know what anybody else was doing. There wasn't anything else going on. You had to wait until 7 p.m. for your show to come on Thursday.
Yes.
You didn't just get to sit and do whatever you wanted to do. So our time was different, and I just cherished that time because it really allowed us to go out and experience life as much as we could. And being a 3-sport athlete, man, it really helps with your body and with development and athleticism. And, like I was a basketball player, so like I could shoot really well, but then for volleyball, when you snap on top of the volleyball, it's the same movement. My softball players, they're the best servers I have because they've thrown the softball for years and years and years. So the sports really tie in well together. But for volleyball, if you want to be really great at the sport right now, my entire team plays travel volleyball. And travel volleyball starts in December, and it doesn't end until early July, late June. Mm-hmm. And then high school starts August to November. So unfortunately, the kids now, they don't have a lot of time to be able to be a 2 or 3 sport athlete in high school.
Yeah, you also, played when it was like me, we're in the same generation, so to speak. And you and I played sports when it was competitive, it was intense, but it was also cheap. Yeah. My oldest daughter, Sydney, who was a phenomenal volleyball player, she went from a local club, Manassas Volleyball, whatever, forgot the name, and then she went into playing for VA Juniors. And I was all excited because she really worked hard to make that club, and it was really competitive. And then I got the bill. And I'm like, what is this? Because, my son played AAU for me, and then he went and played on a shoe circuit team. He played for a shoe circuit team, and it was basically everything paid for, except for a hotel here and there or our flights. But Sydney's, man, it was insane. It was a steep bill. Yes. I'm sure. Do you you're aware of that because your girls play club and travel. Yeah. So is that something that they just are able to do because their families invest in it and they understand the assignment, so to speak, as far as what you have to do to perform at a high level?
Yeah, that's pretty much it, and it really becomes, honestly, like an equity issue for players that really want to be able to go and get better but just can't afford it. But all of the players that I've had, all the kids that I've coached that have played travel, their families find a way to afford it one way or the other, but I agree with you, it is very expensive. And I just feel really blessed that I have the skill of coaching. And can I use those funds to be able to transfer over to my daughter for her to be able to play? But it is, it's an expensive sport. There are lots of different levels around. So juniors is a very top tier level, juniors and Paramount and Metro. And then you've got our kind of middle level, which is where I coached at American Volleyball Club for the last 7 or 8 years, really great volleyball club. And then I agree. Then we have our more local ones, which I know, Glenn from Manassas, he's great.
Yeah,
and
Glenn, yeah.
We've got, Battle, we've got Eclipse coming up. That's a new club that's been developed by one of the people that I've known, Miss Wade. And so it's nice and it's growing, and the different levels are different expenses as well. So if you play at kind of a lower level or a national level, then it's less expensive. It's more local tournaments, single day, where if you go and you play those travel tournaments where you're going to Pittsburgh and Philly and Atlanta, then it definitely gets more expensive. Or you're getting in a plane and you're going to, Kansas City. It's much more expensive.
Yeah. My daughter went to a lot of them places you named. I didn't go because I was either coaching Isaiah or I worked most weekends. But her and my wife, there was about a 3-year period. We didn't see each other like that. Her and Sydney would be gone. And then Isaiah was doing basketball, and it got really, really crazy. One question I do want to ask you, though, and this is important just for the sake of women's sports, given the era you played in, and you look now, over the last 15 to 18 years, the emergence of women's sports, the popularity, having 3 children who are athletes, and my wife was a former all-met track athlete. Well, this is a sports family. So you come down to our living room, when you walk around different bedrooms, you'll hear sports on it. And my wife and I, even before we got together, we've always loved women's basketball. I go back, Pat Summitt, Gino, I remember when those rivalries started. Then you look at women's volleyball. A lot of times I'll come downstairs, especially when Sydney was living with us before she went to college, you see, Nebraska and Wisconsin and all these, and it's loud, by the way. Volleyball is a loud sport. That game against Gainesville, loud. I was sitting there and y'all celebrate every point, and then y'all talk and huddle. But it's intense, it's fun, and it's become popular. You have a lot of young ladies playing sports now, and you're a former standout athlete in multiple sports. Does that give you pride? Do you kind of take a moment and say, wow, this is really great, I'm part of something bigger than me? How's that feel? Yeah,
it really feels great. It feels great to just watch the publicity alone for women's sports increase, like what you said, over the last 10 to 15 years, especially through social media. And then we just have, volleyball. Nebraska went and played in the middle of the football stadium and had 90,000+ people watching that game, and it's just huge. And then you look on the stands and for college volleyball, and people are starting to know people's names. They're starting to understand who to follow. Like my Instagram feed is like nothing but college volleyball right now, and just amazing plays, and people are commenting on it, and I think it's fantastic. And I'm so grateful for just the group of people that I've been able to touch with volleyball, because I don't know if you knew this or not, but at the Gainesville game, Sam Dolion, who used to be Sam Harover, I coached her at Kettle Run High School. Hannah Nugent, who's your freshman coach, I coached her at Patriot High School. My freshman coach, Eva Eanes, I coached at Patriot. Hamby was my manager for 3 years at Patriot. And then Ashley Heideke and I, right when she moved in here and she got that job at Gainesville, we met each other. We were getting our toes done at the nail salon, and I was wearing a Patriot shirt. She goes, "Do you coach volleyball?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she said, "I just got a job at Gainesville." And I was like, "You should try to coach volleyball there." Right? So that's how we met. And then I sent her the info to American Volleyball Club, and then she started coaching there. And so just in that one gym at that one game, I'm looking around, and our volleyball community, just our local community, is so tight knit. And it's the way, and I think Ashley does a great job at Gainesville with making that family unit, having those girls understand it's family first. And that's how for female sports, and we have to bond before we go out and battle. That's just how we are. And so you have to be able to have a good bond with your teams before you can go out there and really play at your highest level. And so I think Ashley's done a great job over there with the Gainesville program, getting those girls to understand that matters. And there are a lot of kids over there on her team that I've coached in club volleyball, so they're just really great kids. But just being able to watch that joy and excitement, and then the camps that we do over the summer, where we get the girls, the young girls, and some boys come too, which is cool, but in the community, excited about volleyball, getting to know it. And if I'm on Facebook, on, all the sports pages I follow on Facebook, and everybody's constantly asking, like, volleyball, where can I go? What can I do? What can I do? And there's a huge market for it right now, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah, you talk about Coach Ashley. She mentioned you in her Legacy Spotlight. She talked about the connection you both have, and I think that's really cool because I've had many Prince William County coaches and players on this platform, this podcast, and you talk about, especially on the west side of the county, I call it like the Western Triangle, because you have Battlefield, Patriot, and Gainesville, and they kind of play each other, and it's competitive, and there's rivalries, and there's a lot of talent on this side. So you get to see it all play out, and you get to see it all happen right in front of you as far as the competition. Is there a player, though? I want to go back to your legacy as far as your journey. Was there a player, female or male athlete, that, because of what you did in your competition and your history, that you used to check for? Like whether it was they were on a magazine cover or you read about them in the newspaper. I know I'm taking it back with the newspaper, but was there an athlete that you were inspired by? That it could be even in any sport that you looked up to that inspired you when you were in the midst of your career?
It was I'm not gonna lie, it was such a long time ago. I really got to think back, because you'll talk to my friends and they're like, "Man, Katie has the worst memory on the planet." So I off the top of my head, man, I cannot remember. I mean, my dad and I would sit, of course, like Michael Jordan, like we'd sit there and watch him play on the Bulls all the time. And so like those, I think I just watched a lot of basketball with my dad. And he would talk to me a lot about the greats when I was younger. Honestly, once I got into high school, I couldn't even tell you how much TV I watched. Like I think that I was out and I was making moves and playing all the time. But off the top of my head, man, I really cannot answer that. I'm sure I'll get it. You ask me in a day and I'll probably remember.
No doubt. It's all good. I asked that question because I'm always curious to see who are now people who are now coaches when they play, who maybe they like or watch or inspire. Because I think in life, sometimes people inspire you directly or even indirectly. You just never know, because you can take on their energy or just see their journey. And I think it's pretty cool. And now with social media, we have even more access to these entertainers and athletes, or iconic figures, so to speak. So I think that's just something I always like to ask. But let's go back to your career. So you played all these sports and you end up going to Catawba College. And what you shared with me offline in preparation for this interview is that you went there to play basketball. So what was it like? Were you heavily recruited? Was it a situation where you were like, oh, I'm going to hoop? Or were there letters and phone calls? How did you end up going down to Catawba?
So I have a very interesting story. So I was very competitive basketball player. The summer of my junior year, right before my senior year, I was in an open gym, and I'd go to every open gym I could find. And you know, Wayne Brizzy over at Fauquier High School, man, he would open the gym for all of us, and so I'd be like the lone girl in a sea of boys, and I would just try to be like hooping as much as I could. And I went to an open gym, and I went to drive and to have a layup, and this girl came and kind of undercut me, and she hurt my knee. And then the next day, 2 days before we were going to go to nationals down in Florida, at practice, I ended up tearing my ACL. We were right about to go to nationals, torn ACL. My whole team was leaving 3 days later, and it's the summer right before my senior year. So like this is the pivotal time where I would have been reaching out to people. I mean, I was sending out, back in the day, VHS tapes. I mean, that's what we were doing. We were sending out VHS tapes. I'm only 5'8". I'm not big. I played in the post half the time in high school. I'm like tough. Yeah, like I was a post player. So I would go, there's articles about me about like Moore shuts down 6'2" Stinnett, and like, so I was a little big guy. And so I was really rough. I'm really competitive. And so my freshman and sophomore year in high school, I was like, I would guard the post. And then my junior and senior, I had to be a shooting guard and then be the point sometimes, which is a little difficult to do, but tore my ACL. So back then, our basketball season was in the winter. And so I got ACL surgery in June, and I said June or July, and I told everybody, I said, I'm going to be back for my basketball season. And the doctors are like, there's no way. And I said, no, I'm telling you right now, like, I'm going to be back. And so I was back in November for the first scrimmage. So July, August, September, October, June, July, August, September, October. So 4 months ACL surgery, and I was cleared to play 4 months later, which is pretty unheard of. And
unheard of.
Yeah.
Especially back then. Goodness.
Yeah, so I was lucky. So our athletic trainer, I didn't even go to physical therapy. Our athletic trainer at Fauquier High School, Coach Downs, was one of the trainers for the Redskins at the time, now the Commanders. And then I had another weight room coach. His name was Coach Polshanet at Fauquier High School. And the day after I had my surgery, I was in there in the weight room every day, 2 times a day on the bike. And all I was doing was bike stuff. And they knew what I wanted to do. And I said, that's what I want to do. I never went back to the doctor, never went to physical therapy. I just went to those 2. And they had me back by November. So I played throughout November. But because of that ACL tear, I did visit some schools, when I had the tear. But once they knew there was a tear, they were like, it's all right. So I ended up applying to like 9 different schools. And then I went to Catawba, and the coach there was like, yeah, like we want you to come play, but we just want you to walk on. And I was like, that's fine. Like, I'll be a walk on because I just came off this injury. I don't blame people for like kind of not recruiting. I probably would have been a really great D3 player. This is great for all the people listening. I wish, back, I'm much more, my athletic ability, D3 would have been the way to go. Catawba's a D2 school. So I went there and I walked on, and I made the team as a walk on as a freshman, but nice. I got redshirted with like 5 other kids. And so there was 15 scholarship players, 5 of us got redshirted. And then, I was like, there's not a place for me here. So I walked onto the volleyball team that spring, and I ended up making the volleyball team as a rostered player. And so there's my story. I ended up playing volleyball my sophomore, junior, and senior year. And then it's been volleyball ever since. But I probably know more about basketball than I do about volleyball. And I know a lot about volleyball now. So
wow. I mean, number one, that story about you coming back quickly is insane, especially back then.
Yeah.
But, modern medicine's even better now. I just saw a clip before I logged on with you, Jason Tatum, one of my favorite players with the Celtics, who's literally in the gym right now after tearing his Achilles. He's in the gym right now, dribbling and moving and shooting and jumping and running. I'm like, what? I mean, I don't know his status about the season, but at the same time, basketball, NBA gets going in October, just like high school. I mean, it's so medicine's crazy now, but for you to do it, that determination really paid off. And then to switch sports, not to pick on kids today, but even back in the day, I mean, I saw a lot of young men and women I played with or knew personally that were athletes. When things got rough, adversity set in, they were like, you know what, I'm just going to go back home, or it's over for me. You just switched sports like it was nothing. Yeah. And how was it? I mean, talk a little about your volleyball career there. I mean, I'm full disclosure, Sydney, my oldest daughter, has educated me a lot about volleyball before she got into it. Everybody like Lauren, my other daughter, would tell you should play basketball because Sydney's not super tall, but she's long. Right. She's like 5'9". Oh yeah. But Lauren's tall. She's long. But either way, I knew nothing about volleyball. I've learned about even how y'all sub and they do the little hand thing, libero. I didn't know any of that, so I wasn't in love with it. But I've learned to like it a lot more now and love it. So I don't know anything about Catawba volleyball when you were there. How was it? How was your experiences? Do you have any great memories?
Yeah, I mean, I had a really great experience. I mean, being a walk onto the volleyball team after being a basketball player and playing volleyball for fun, you could imagine. So we had a team of like 17 people, and I was probably like 15th on the team of 17 people. But for me, and I just feel like I'm different sometimes than kids, and I just wanted a jersey. I wanted a jersey. I wanted to be part of the family. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to be the best practice player you're going to have. I'm going to push everybody. And then maybe I'll be able to beat somebody out and I'll be able to earn a spot. And with that being my college experience, and I had a good experience. I mean, I will still write on Facebook today about our experience, at school. And it was a great experience. I told you, even when I was in high school, I was like, what do I do if I don't have sport? Like, that's weird to me. Like my whole life is being a part of a team and playing a sport and being a leader. And that's one of the things that I try to teach the girls and especially my girls that have to sit the bench because I can't play everybody is, my experience of doing that and what it looks like to be a good teammate and what it looks like to support people. And when I tore my ACL in high school, my senior year, all my best friends, they made it to the state semifinal game, and I was supposed to be their starting setter, and I couldn't because I tore my ACL. But I went to our head coach and I said, "Can I just coach the freshman volleyball team instead?" Why? And I said, "Well, I just want to. I want to be a part of it." So my love for coaching started. I mean, I remember being in 8th grade and loving to coach. So I coached a freshman team when I was a senior in high school when I had the torn ACL, and I was there to support my team who made it, to the state semifinal game. And that just, that's just has always been my mentality. And I like to take those like leadership qualities and I like to share those with the kids, that it's not always about who's on the floor doing the work. Everybody on the bench is equally as important, and pushing each other in practice is equally important. And those are the skills that I learned in college, of being able to be a really great teammate and being able to self-assess, which I think a lot of kids have trouble with these days. Is self-assessing and looking and saying like, yeah, like that person's skills are way better than mine. This is where I need to be on the bench until I can put in the extra work, not just practice work. But you got to be doing stuff outside of practice to really get a lot better at your sport.
Yeah, you're spot on with that. I think that assessing is critical. And I don't know if everyone has that wherewithal to do that, because that's how you grow and that's how you hold yourself accountable. That's one thing I've always prided myself on. You talk about those VCR tapes. I've converted some of them into digital stuff, but I used to be up, man. I was on varsity all 4 years of backup. My freshman year, started 10th through 12th grade. And I would just have my mom, if I was out working out or doing something, record games for me, or because our stuff would broadcast, and I would record it in myself if I could. And I would go back and watch. And that's when I realized, like, wow, I thought I played better. Or like, oh, wow, that wasn't as bad as I thought. Or, okay, I got to get stronger in this aspect. So that self-assessing, you're spot on with. But again, so one thing I've seen, Coach, you talk about always have something to do. I went through the same thing when my career was slowly ending, is that I remember when I was done, had a deal with the Ravens as a free agent, didn't work out, and I was trying out working out for other teams in arena football. And then I was like, okay, I got 2 degrees from Tech. I need to figure out what I'm going to do. And when I moved up here to Northern Virginia 25 years ago, it was so weird just having an afternoon free. It was, honestly, it was almost like detox. It was like, or waking up on Saturday and not getting up and having 5:30, 5 a.m. workouts and conditioning. And even trying to get myself to the gym versus having to have to be in the gym, right? I had your colleague and friend on, as I mentioned earlier, Coach Ashley, Coach Heike on, and she talked about the adjustment was a challenge. And I've had a lot of former athletes on this platform, and it's a challenge because we go from being that person, part of this group, that sisterhood, that brotherhood, that camaraderie, that traveling, that rhythm and regimen of a season, to now being almost like a civilian, right? A lot of us go through a little bit of an adjustment, not adjustment disorder, but like a depression. Or like, it's like, okay, who am I? Not that we live vicariously through our status on the sports realm, but just more so, who am I now? And then what do I do? Even though I may have a degree and I've got this classroom experience, this internship, this practicum, who am I, right? Did you go through that before you got to Patriot?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely when I graduated college, it was kind of, that pivotal, like, what do I do now? But I mean, I'm a high school teacher, so I got a high school job in the inner city in Winston-Salem, North Carolina at Parkland High School. And so I jumped right in. I started coaching volleyball there. And so I think for me, I always knew that I was going to coach. And even when I was in college, I was like, well, I'm good at math. I'm really good at explaining things, and I love coaching. So let me just go ahead and be a high school. And I wanted to have a family, and so it worked out. That school schedule works out real nice. And so I jumped right in, started coaching at Parkland, and I loved my experience of being in the inner city because I was able to use, the love that I have inside to put towards sports. I could also use that to care for my students and my kids. I call them my kids, but and so there's so many kids that need us in the high school setting. And that for us to be able to be available for them in that way is also fulfilling. So for me, I was able to transition pretty quick on how can I feel fulfilled now that I don't have my sport? Can I do it through the classroom? Can I do it through after school activities? Can I do it through making connections with students and with teachers? And so I was able to do that very fast. And I started coaching travel volleyball right then too. So all that extra time that I had, I didn't have it anymore. I still, to this day, I still fill my time. If I have 3 hours to sit, I'm like, what am I going to do for 3? It's uncomfortable for me. I need to be doing, and then I sleep when I need to.
Yeah, and one thing you didn't mention with sports and teaching also did with that work-life balance, it prepared you for motherhood.
Yeah.
In a way, because you have to balance being mom. I mean, I have 3 kids, and I'll be sitting right here, and then my kids be like, "Mom, mom, mom." I'm like, "Hey, come on, bro, I can do this too, right?" You know what I'm saying? So, you mothers get called on a lot, and it's an endless job. Dads too. But I mean, you get caught on a lot. So one thing I find interesting, and you and I touched on this a little bit at the Prince William County Media Day, Patriot High School is not an older high school. It's been around maybe 11, 12 years now. It hasn't been around like some of the other Prince William County schools, or even Fauquier High School. I mean, it's a newer school, but and over the last several years, you talk about Finery and football doing very well. They've gone to regionals and they've been knocking on the door trying to get to states. Obviously, Patriot-based basketball is just really good. Sherman Rivers, he's been on this platform a lot. I mean, states and states. I mean, it's almost like last year they lost in the quarterfinals and everyone was like, what happened? I mean, well, that's still a very good season. I mean, the expectations at Patriot High School, track, a lot of sports there are doing really, really swim. This is a school that, like Battlefield, even now with Gainesville, that's a newer school, the newest school. The expectation is like championships. So how's the support there at the school? And it's not like competition with you and other coaches, but do you guys talk in the hallway? Do you talk, do you kind of, strategize with schedules? You kind of see what Sherm's doing and say, you know what, I got to do that to prepare my team to get ready for states? Is there a little bit of that give and take there?
Oh, 100%. I can't tell you how many times I sit with Sherm and I'm like, show me your practice plan. Let me see. If you look at my practice plan, the setup, the dynamic of it mimics what they do in the basketball program. I mean, to a T. And myself and the other coaches, we get together and we talk about scenarios. We talk about how to build like a championship culture. And that's the one thing that's very different from me and my experience to like Sherm and his basketball team and his experience and even at Potomac is that when you're an athlete and you grew up in the championship culture, it's very easy to continue that culture because you know what it looks like. But for me, I mean, I love Fauquier High School. It was great. But I played on lots of teams in my career that were not championship level teams. I've never been on a team that's won a state championship. Even in college, I've never been on a team that's won even like a conference championship. And so for somebody that doesn't know what it looks like, it's hard to build that championship culture when you haven't been immersed in the championship culture and you don't have kids that have the mindset of the championship culture. You know, when kids come in and they play for fun and you try to push them, there can be a lot of pushback with that. So between Sherm and Finnerty, Kelly Payne is our soccer coach. She's a very, very successful soccer coach. She does an amazing job with her girls with team bonding. She's probably one of the best that I've seen where she just has bonding activity after activity after activity. And so I talked to her last season and I'm more of like we're going to get the job done. Let's get out here and get after it. I'm not but my strength is not team bonding, but I know I have to do it. So she gave me some ideas of these fun little games that she does with her team. And so what we do with my team now is we do the very first 15 minutes, we have this bag full of fun games and the girls pull the fun game out of the bag. It's written on a piece of paper from my assistant coach. Coach speaks, wrote it down, and they open it up and it's just fun. It's fun, silly games that they play that's also supposed to help with agility and conditioning. And we do it before every single practice. So every practice we start with good, fun, energy, high intensity, excitement because they don't know what to expect from the game bag. And so between the structure of my practices, which I pulled from basketball, and then the team bonding from my practices and my program that I pulled from soccer, like all of the coaches at Patriot are more than happy to help each other and are really looking for support from the other teams. And that's what we're trying to work on now is each team kind of showing up for the other teams and supporting, cheering them on, building Red Nation. All of those things are really valuable. But for me, if I want us to be really good, why would I not go and find the best coaches in my school or in my area and talk to them? Like some people don't, and I don't, I am the opposite. I want to find the best person. I want to see what they're doing. I want to do exactly what they're doing. And then I want to change it to fit the dynamic of my team.
Yeah. And you're right about the connections and relationships in that championship culture. I've seen that when I look at schools, not just at Prince William County or even the Cardinal District, but throughout the state, playing at a legendary high school, Hampton High School, being part of a great culture. I played for two Hall of Fame legendary coaches, Coach Mike Smith in high school, who coached 50 years, won national championships and state championships. And I played for the great Frank Beamer. We won conference championships and played in major games. I realized I was part of something very special because championship culture, you have DNA that's championship mindset, but it starts with your practice plans, your schedule, your off-season conditioning. I was so spoiled when I was done playing and I coached for quite a bit. I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Some of these kids just want to have fun. And it was my wife who was an all-met track runner. She could have ran in college. She didn't want to. She majored in engineering before switching to a different major. And she was like, Vic, some people just want to play sports just to play, not to be intense like you. And I was like, that's stupid. I said that was, the younger me. And she was like, it's not stupid. Some people just love to be part of something. I said, I want to win. I want to win. I was like Keanu Reeves and Devil's Advocate. I was like, I win. And she was like, okay, calm down. So championship culture on a serious note is something that you got to have. But it starts from the foundation. And also I want to shout out a great AD you guys have in Brad. Brad is he has a big responsibility making sure everything's available and all the different things and concessions and the grounds and the court and making sure people, handle everything correctly. And I think that's also something I see with great programs. The AD knows what he or she is doing. Now let's dive into something that's occurring right now. Your team, your ladies are in the midst of having a phenomenal season. I know that's not the end goal, but one thing I remember last year, y'all had a great run. It didn't end the way you wanted to, but you brought a lot of people back, right? And we have a family group chat, and Isaiah Vick is one of your biggest fans because he in the group chat. Sometimes if I can't get to a game, my wife will update scores and different things going on, like Lauren did this and this, that, whatever, or this is what's going on. So when Gainesville played Patriot, I left after the second set. I had to get back and do some reports, but I was watching it on the app, and she was texting because Isaiah's at Wingate and Sydney is at ODU. And when y'all won the game, Isaiah was like, "Yep, state champions," right? He's like, he said they're going to states, right? So that's what he said. So state championship is something that's been thrown at your program. And one thing that stood out to me when I was watching your team is they're having a lot of fun. They don't seem to be afraid of the moment. They do this thing I can't do because I'm sitting down. After they get a big point, they get in a circle and they all shake their hips. So I was like, whoa, what we got going on here? And you were laughing and smiling. And I was like, oh, y'all. And this was in a very intense game with Gainesville. And, nobody was mad or like uncomfortable at the moment. And the other thing that stood out to me is you have scheduled this year WCAC schools. You are not playing, right? So how fun is it this year? What's the expectation? Are you embracing the moment? Because, you got Colgan down the street. Everyone knows about Colgan. Forest Park's a great program. Prince William is not shy on talent and great coaches and teams. So what's it like this year? How you managing that?
Definitely enjoying the moment. This team's really special. I said in the interview, I think, but I've coached some of these kids since they were 12 years old. And so it's so special to see them just come through the program from club and they're seniors now and they're really excelling in their sport. And, one thing that I got from boys basketball from Sherm is that if you want to win a state championship you have to schedule really, really hard. You have to get all the best teams so that you're ready and prepared. So our very first regular season game was against Riverside, who won the Class 5 state championship last year. And we went 5 sets with them, and lost the 5th. And they have Division I athletes on the other side of the court. And I loved every single second. And the girls this year are really special because they stayed nice and calm. And that's one thing that last year we were not as strong at, is the importance of staying calm in stressful moments and understanding that you can be calm, you can loosen up. I love it when they have fun because it keeps them loose. When they're not doing it, that's when they get tight, and that's when you start to see us having, unforced errors. And in my sport, like, errors matter. Like the other team gets a point off of our errors. So you have to stay nice and calm. And the more funny, goofy things that they can do when they get an ace and all those cheers that came from our libero. So our liberos, she's just a stud. She's a really good softball player, top tier softball player. She's going to national competitions all throughout for softball to try to get recruited. And she's only a sophomore, but she comes in with that high level softball intensity. You know how many cheers they do with softball. So she just comes out and she just starts doing the muscle arms and spraying her little hip. And I was like, all right. Now, some of our cheers have been a little questionable, so we've had to tone it down a little bit. But for the most part, I love it. I love it in between sets when there's music playing and they can go and they can dance a little bit. I don't mind it. We have this container that we keep at the end of the bench. This is our bench snack container. And so inside of it, we keep candy and like Sour Patch Kids is our fan fave. We've got some goldfish in there, pretzels, And so if the girls need a little bit, a little bit of sugar, a little bit of snack, they just go to the end of the bench, they just eat a little bit of the snacks, put them down, and hop back in. And all those things, when I watch college volleyball, it's all what I see in college volleyball. And so I'm like, we got to keep mimicking what these championship level teams are doing for us to be able to get there. And we had a really intense match against Independence. Independence changed their roster around a little bit, their lineup around, and they came out ready for us. We went 5 with them. We won the last set 15-12. And it was a very competitive match for us. And I was so proud of the girls because they still stayed nice and calm. It's almost nice and calm. Like they look at me and they're like, "Coach, we got this." And I'm like, "I know you do."
Wow.
But we gotta find that fire. And I was watching some on Instagram the other day where it was talking about, actually no, it was Dan Meskey from Louisville, the head coach from Louisville volleyball, and he was talking about how much he loves his players that were multi-sport athletes because he can tell the girls that play basketball because they are so competitive, because in those contact sports it's a different type of competitive nature than it is in volleyball. For the girls that are just playing volleyball, they're not used to pushing up against somebody. They're not used to boxing somebody out. They're not used to falling on the ground, bodies falling behind you, like for football as well. And so, I keep telling the girls, we need to find that fire. And it's hard for me to define what that is. Like that fire, like you're ready to just knock into someone and go after it. And I saw that in the 5th set against Independence. And I was like, there it is. All right, now we can roll with that. And now we can take that throughout. But yeah, I love their demeanor. We're going one step at a time, 1 point at a time is all I say. Even when we were down like 4-10 against Independence one set. I mean, even Gainesville, that 3rd set, we were down like 4-10.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I told him, I said, listen, in sets like that, you reset. You get back into your rhythm. You push back. If you don't win it, you don't win it. It's okay. We just get to go out and try it again. And you can flip the switch in a second. And it's just energy, and the energy matters the most. And so we're taking it one step at a time. We're learning. I watched film yesterday for like 3 hours against Independence. Just try. Wow. You have to watch film to really see where your deficits are, so we can go back out and practice, and get after it. And I can't be okay with where we're at now. Like we have so much work we still need to do, and we're halfway through the season. And so every day in practice, I tell the girls, I said, I need you to envision what the Siegel Center is going to look like. I need you to envision the regional championship, the district championship, every single step of it. I said, I need you guys to be championship ready to see what that's going to look like. And I challenge them to play at a state championship level every practice and every game, no matter who we're playing against, because that mentality has to stay level the entire time. They cannot drop off. So yeah, I'm enjoying the moment one step at a time. And if hopefully we make it further, that's our goal. Work harder, dream bigger. And so last year we made it to the state quarterfinals. And so this year we want to work harder, we want to dream bigger. And that would be making it past where we got last year. So that's the goal.
You have some ballers. You have some athletes. And I saw them at Prince William County Media Day, and I interviewed them. Even shared a clip on my Vicktory Life Instagram account. But then seeing them play in person, volleyball, like basketball, is all about the measurables and, passing that eye test. And I'm bad with names, even when I can prep for an interview. So I'm not about to attempt to mess up names. But you have, oh my God, the one tall girl. You have 2, but they're really tall and they're intimidating. But they're also very good players. Just talk about a little bit about those young ladies you have. And I know you're not even close to being done, but what they've done so far that you're very excited about, that's impressing you as a coach. Just highlight some of your players.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So Leigh Rancourt's our tall girl. She's our outside hitter. She's number 1. Last year she was first team all state, first team all region, first team all district player of the year as a junior. But she's a stud. She had 30 kills against Independence, which is absolutely unheard of, and hit like 333, which is insane for an outside hitter. She was just terminating the ball everywhere. But more importantly, she's a great team leader. I mean, she is our captain. I have one captain this year, and then I do a rotation during games that allow two of the other girls to come up and do the coin toss. Just because we're such a tight knit family, I didn't have anybody else that really stood out because everybody on my team is level. Everybody on my team is a leader, and so Soleil is our number one team captain on the floor, and the girls follow that with her. But she is, she has goals set for herself, individual goals. She's about to reach one of them as far as, how many kills she's gotten total. We've got some goals she's trying to meet, trying to reach. So Monday should be pretty big for her on that. My other big girl is Sydney Bennett. She's also about 6'1", 6'2". She plays in the middle. She's been a starter on varsity for me for the last 4 years. First team all district, second team all region for 2 years. She is, we just call her the wall. She is up blocking, pin to pin. Every time she's in the front row, it is impossible to get through the wall. And that's just what I love about her is she prides herself on her defense. But then offensively is a huge threat as well. I mean, she's hitting 400, 500 from the middle. It's like every 5 out of 10 balls that she's getting are kills. Sometimes she's even had like a 700-800 game, which is just remarkable for her. And she's also just a really great teammate and a great leader. Then we got Danica Swanson, who's my setter. She's been setting at an accuracy of about 45 to 50%. That means that half the balls that she's given to the hitters, they hit their kills. And the hitters are putting the balls away. She's been a varsity starter since she's been a freshman. And, we're running a 5-1. She's really close to meeting one of her goals. I think right now she's got maybe 12 or 1,300 assists for her career. And she's trying to go for 2,000 at the end of the season. So goals that she's working towards. She is running a really fast offense for us, which at the high school level, you don't see a really fast offense. So she's able to do that. We've got Kaylee Francis on the right side. She can jump out of the gym. She's only a sophomore. She can put the ball away. And I don't know what she can touch. I think she can touch about 9'9" or 9'10". When kids are getting recruited from D1 schools, you really want them to be able to the gauge with her. But she's an upcoming star for Patriot Volleyball. She has everything that she needs to be able to be really successful. We're going to get her a lot more in the offense than what you've seen. And then we've got our libero, Aubrey Shelton, who I said is only a sophomore, was on JV last year, was just a practice player on her travel team for volleyball because she's a big softball kid. She's like a D1 softball prospect. And she came out and I saw her tryouts and I was like, man, you are a stud. She's got that fire inside of her that nothing's going to get past her. Nothing's gonna fall. And so it's great because now that we've been able to really train her, she's been a standout in the libero position for us. But not only that, but her leadership skills as a sophomore on the floor have been remarkable with the cheers and just the passion for the sport. Maria Lawson just put out some pictures. And you can see Aubrey's got this awesome picture where she's like, and that's what she does. And that's, and she'll come to me and she's like, Coach, what do you need? What do you need from me? What can I do? And I'm like, you just got to bring more energy, man. And she'll go out there and she'll just be crazy and it's contagious. But she's constantly asking how she can get better and what she could do for the team. And that's pretty awesome. So, and then she's one of our other outside hitter. Who's doing a good job for us. We just moved her to the outside. Elizabeth Gordon.
Okay. All right.
Yep, is our a newly moved to the outside. Just a few. Well, I want to say probably by September. So new player that we got over on the outside. She played middle for us for the last 2 seasons at Patriot, but we popped her over to the outside. So she's been really successful there. And then Reese Roberts just had her best game last week against Independence. She had 10 kills. I think she hit maybe 400 from the middle, which is really great for her. So just really proud of the girls that we have. And of course, I can't name every player, but our back row's did a great job too.
Yeah, what a great group of young ladies. And you just named off some really talented players, but also some ladies that are an extension of you regarding just promoting what the expectations are in the program. I always feel like they're really, really good to great teams, have players that kind of take responsibility and ownership of what the program and the team should look like. So that's really good. I do want to ask you this question before we wrap up. You and I both value mental health. I am a therapist. I've dedicated my life the last 30 plus years after my career ended to, I work in DC, Northern Virginia. I've done a lot of stuff even in my hometown. I'll go back. I'm always doing symposiums, individual outpatient therapy, group counseling. I'm always speaking at schools. You helped me. You were the connect for me when I spoke at Patriot High School, and that was my third time doing that. Just about life skills and just that transitional plan for life after high school. You deal with even non-student athletes. You help regular students at Patriot. How do you help your team though? Because I've always said, especially having two daughters and even a son, I mean, when you're an athlete, a lot of people know you that you don't know them. Like you can be walking around the promenade or at, Giant or Costco and someone knows who you are. They could be pointing at you. How do you help these young ladies balance that life as far as being a student athlete, also making sure that they're in relationships and they got schoolwork and there's always some type of situation. Sometimes you have players that their parents are going through a bitter divorce or they lose a loved one. The mental health part, I think over the last 20 years has really emerged as something that needs to be addressed in sports compared to back in the day when we were just told to deal with it. Right? How do you do that? Is there a little component you have in your program? Do you have an open door policy? Do you have a group chat? I know you have to be careful with just talking to players outside of the classroom in the school, but how do you manage it with your team?
Yeah, so I've been blessed with one of the best coaching staffs I've ever had, and so we've been together, myself and my assistant coaches, for at least the last 8 years, and we are all like-minded with mental health being a huge priority, and so I feel like we have a really great relationship with the kids, that they feel comfortable being able to come and talk to us. Before every practice, after our fun game, we have this thing called "What's Your Number?" And so we have the girls put up a number between 1 and 5. 1 being the toughest day ever, 5 being like, I'm ready, I'm going 100%. And so everybody, and coaches too, everybody gets to go and say what their number is. And sometimes like girls that are 1s, everybody knows when you're a 1. And so what we do is we just tell them like, hey, listen, you know who's like your 1s and 2s today? During water breaks, like go over there, give them a hug, give them a high five. I love Mel Robbins, and she wrote a book called The High Five Habit. And just giving kids high fives and not even doing anything else can actually lift their spirits and help their mental health and well-being. Physical touch is huge. So we talk about, getting in our huddles, hands on the back, giving high fives, giving each other hugs if we need it, telling everybody it's okay. Like those are big for us. So when we see our 1s and 5s, we do our numbers before practice. We go and we can check in with kids. So if someone who's usually a 4 or 5 gives me a 1, I'm like, you're usually not a 1, like what's going on? And so we just go over, it's really quick, like, hey, we're just checking in, and the kids appreciate it. They know that we care. And then if they need someone to talk to, I have this big green chair in my office that there's, whether it's after school or maybe during a flex time, they can come in, they can talk to me, and they feel comfortable that we're there to support them. And I also think it's really important, especially when you get through the season, to be mindful of how long practices are. And so our practices right now are about an hour and 15 max. It's another thing I got from Sherm for the basketball team. He was like, anything that's going too long is really going to drain them. And so we talk about quality versus quantity. And so we have quality practices that are fast-paced, quick, but the girls appreciate it and they work hard because they know what they're doing serves a purpose, and not just being in practice because 2-hour practices are what we have to do because that's my time limit. It's like, no. So they feel comfortable with the coaches. They understand that we see what they need. On Fridays, we don't practice, we just lift. And so they lift for about 35, 40 minutes, and then they get to go and have fun. But we always practice on Saturday mornings. So they know that expectation, and they're up, ready to go.
I love that you do that. I love the lifting, the time off, and then coming back Saturday mornings. I always feel like Saturday mornings, whether it was shoot around or film or just getting together with light conditioning, always kept the team connected going into that next week. That's a smart thing by you. Sounds like, you running a great program, which I knew that just being around you and around the program, but getting this insight is even more, great to hear, because I get even more respect for what you're doing over there. And speaking of respect, I want to end this episode with allowing you and respecting your insight and getting your final thoughts on just what you've been through. Your journey has taught you to pass on to those future Coach Katie's, those young ladies, not even just the ones at Patriot, but what is the game of volleyball and coaching and even overcoming injuries and just your journey so far? I always find this question so insightful. I'm eager to hear what you say, because I always tell my guests to be honest with this question, because I get a lot of views and a lot of people want to hear, and there's always some quote or some message. So what have you learned so far about yourself, and what do you want to pass on? Not your last will and testament, but what do you feel like you've learned and grown from, and what is coaching and mentoring and mental health and teaching taught you that you want to pass on to the future Coach Katie's, or even just students in general?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's been like the entire development of my life. I mean, just being in sports, being an athlete, being able to see the impact that I can have on other students, or on my athletes, watching them go off and begin to be coaches themselves, and using the things that we have taught them to be able to be successful. My journey of being able to push through, being able to go through adverse situations. And I just kind of fall off of life is full of their ups and downs. Life is not going to be joyful all the time. And so you use those tough moments to teach other people and to be there for other people and support them through it, and tell them hey man, it's going to be okay. Let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. I talk to a lot of people about just the importance of communication and the importance of understanding their self and their self-worth. And even when we talk about the sport of volleyball, it's more important for everybody to develop who they are as a person and understand that, and then everything else kind of falls into place with that. And so I've taken my journey of self-discovery for me, and I'm still learning about myself, and I'm taking those values that I've learned, especially in my 30s. I learned a lot in my 30s, and I'm passing them down to the kids that are 15, 16, 17 years old, in hopes that they'll begin to pay it forward as well. They'll use those strategies, they'll figure it out, and then when they become 20 or 30 years old, they'll continue to pass on those strategies and those thoughts, to other people that they touch along the way. But the more people that I can get in my network and talk to and share my passion for mental health, share my passion for coaching, and everything kind of lies hand in hand. It's all interweaved in each other, and it makes me a better person. And the best skill I've ever learned, whether I'm raising my children or I'm coaching or I'm teaching, is the ability to say I'm sorry. And a lot of people don't have the ability to say I'm sorry. And I am the number one, I am not perfect. I will make so many mistakes in my life, but I am the first person that if I know I did something wrong, I go, whether it's a kid, my own child, my son is 11, I go up and I say, man, I'm sorry. That was not the way to do it. That was not the way to say it. And I think people underestimate how much people watch us and they learn from us. And I think that's really valuable, is that you lead by example, and you're constantly learning, and you just continue to know that we are only human too, and we're going to make mistakes, but we just keep rocking with it, and people will support you along the way. But my coaching journey, sports journey, all of it's just intertwined. It's just made me into the person I am today.
Which is a great person, and this has been a great episode. I appreciate you, Coach Katie, for jumping on and those wise words about, especially the part about I'm sorry. I feel like the ego has gotten in the way of a lot of adults understanding what adulting means. We were once 15 and 16, and we don't always know, even as adults, what to do. So imagine a 16-year-old. Right. And I think sometimes we forget that, especially with the pressures of social media and different things like that. I didn't grow up with Canvas and all these different things that they have now with academic curriculum and stuff like that. It's a different time, but you're making it look good and your team looks good. I can't wait to see y'all play again. I'm hoping you have a state championship run. I really do. I love the celebrations. That's probably the biggest thing I enjoyed as far as just watching. I see a lot of different celebrations, but the dancing and all of that stuff, it's really cool. And it's great that they're having fun because the thing about this journey we're on, like your career and my career, it feels like it lasts forever, but you look back, it happens so quickly and then you're done. So keep doing a great job with you and everybody watching. Thank you for joining and supporting this episode. Continue to support Patriot Volleyball and Coach Katie and those young ladies. And if you're in the area, check out the game. They got some great matchups, especially when you get into districts and regionals. Going to be a lot of fun. And I'm wishing you well in a healthy and productive season and a great school year. I know there's a lot of work left with that. I know we do have No School November coming up, which is always a teacher favorite. Then the next thing you know, you're praying for snow. So you keep up the great work, Coach Katie, and everybody watching. Thank y'all. Please subscribe and share to see more interviews like this one. And like I say every episode, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, make sure you have a positive impact and leave a great legacy. On behalf of Coach Katie and the Patriot Volleyball program, I'm Dwight Vick, your host and founder of Vicktory Life Legacy Spotlight. Thank you, Coach Katie. We say thank y'all for watching and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.